I'm going to give a bit of a brief introduction because I'd like you to understand the framework that I'm coming from. When I started my profession, for about the first 10 years or so, I was a therapist in Lakewood. And I was doing my job. I think I was somewhat mediocre, trying to work out how to do the job. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu put a gift into my life when our eldest daughter, who was then 14, went off the derech. Shall we say she went off very hard? It's hard to explain exactly. It was in the days so many years ago when it wasn't very popular to go off the derech. It certainly wasn't very popular for girls to go off the derech. And I was a somewhat well-known therapist already. It took us by surprise. And to a great degree it shattered my confidence. And I'll be honest, there were times during the next Kufa when I had serious reservations about continuing as a therapist. I had considered changing professions. I felt I was cheating people by pretending to help them, when in those days I wasn't comfortable yet to talk about it. Kadosh Baruch Hu actually sent me a gift one afternoon. A couple came to see me, and they start telling their story. Actually, it was rather uncanny. Their first names were the same as my wife and I, the couple. And they started telling me about the story of their 14-year-old daughter who'd gone off the derech and all the troubles they had with her. And halfway through the session, not even halfway in, about a third of the way into the session, I stopped and I said to them, look, I think you may be here under false pretenses. So let me tell you something. And I told them about my parsha that we had suddenly fallen into. And I said, look, I'm not going to charge you if you want to leave. I totally understand that, and I apologize for any misunderstandings, but I'm not sure if you really want to work with me. And they smiled and looked at each other, and then they looked at me and they said, well, why do you think we came to you? What, you think people don't know? And I have to be honest, I did. I didn't know people knew. And they all know. Everybody knows. In fact, when your kid goes off, you're the last one to know. The neighbors know. Your relatives know. Everybody knows. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent me that gift. And that gift was very, very important to my life. And I decided to do this and dedicate myself to trying to take what I could learn from my own journey, incorporate what I could learn from now thousands and thousands of other people's journeys, and try and realize, there's a bigger picture here. And, simplistic answers and solutions, these will not serve us well. They actually hurt us. Well-meaning, but very, very superficial, thoughtless answers can actually hurt us. They create a false sense of hope. They lead us in the wrong direction. They almost always make us do things that we regret later. So I set out on a journey where I asked myself, can I sort of be bigger than this parsha and try and think, what is this really about? What is Hashem telling us? How does this fit in the scope of the world, of history, of Klal Yisrael, of Yadus? This is not an anomaly. But this is a message. And this is a gift if we can see how to embrace it. And I set out on a journey, a personal journey, to try and understand that gift and to see what we could do with it. Over the next years, 5 of our very learning disabled kids also went through the Parsha. We have 8 children. There were times in the distant, my memory doesn't serve me exactly well, but there were times when I wasn't so comfortable to talk about it, I confess. But through this journey, Baruch Hashem, all of those children returned to Shmiras HaMitzvahs. They returned to be fine human beings, exceptionally excellent, caring Jewish people, trying to work out their journey in service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it takes us expanding ourselves to embrace this journey, to understand what this is about globally, to let go of the pratim and the embarrassment and the shame and trying to fix it so quickly. And it demands the shift where I can really primarily look at fixing me first. It's like the metaphor of the airplane. We've all seen it when you're on the airplane and they show you the safety message. And they always show you, put on your oxygen mask first and then put the one on your child afterwards. And I've come to believe and see clearly that if we put the focus, the dagesh, on fixing our kids first, we will fail. And what we must do is go on this journey, a very personal journey for each and every one of us, to work out our own kinks, to see what it is I have to fix about me, to see what this Parsha kicks up inside me that in all honesty I'm not comfortable with. The remainder of every one of us, of our tikkun amidus, of our shleimus ha'adam, that we know that's what we're here for in this world, to see that first, to put our oxygen, our spiritual oxygen mask on first, to take care of my issues, so I can then put that mask on my child and help them afterwards. Somewhere in 1998, 99, I don't remember when, the Jewish Observer published an article by a very noted mechanech. He's not alive anymore. It's a wonderful person. And I took exception to it. I'd never written to a magazine in my life. I just did my private thing, got on with my life, tried to pay the bills and take care of my family. But, they had a little box where they brought out this box to highlight a nakuda. And this box said that it is the overwhelming consensus of mental health professionals that children going off the derech come from dysfunctional homes. Now, I found that odd. I found it odd because I was pretty convinced my home was not dysfunctional. I imagine there's 1 or 2 people here who could relate to that feeling. But the notion was, and somehow, that yes, they all come from dysfunctional homes. And for the first time in my life, I took pen to paper and I wrote to them, together with a colleague, and I challenged what they'd said. I asked them, perhaps you're putting the cart before the horse. Maybe the problem with the child will create dysfunction in the home. And maybe then, and only then, you can look and say, yes, this home is in dysfunction. Maybe it needs to be to save its child. Maybe it needed to move there. So I wrote an article together with a colleague, a letter to the editor, where I challenged what I felt was both wrong and dangerous. Because I understood that the micromanaging of kids to try and fix them, which is going to occur if we believe that the world will see us as these dysfunctional people if we have struggling kids. So the Yetzer Hara is that we're going to fix our kids quickly so the world won't look at us as dysfunctional. And that micromanaging fixing actually greases the rails of kids going off the derech. That was my argument. And if you remember, then they put out the famous edition of children on the fringe, and something changed. Something changed. I've tried to do a lot of research over the years to understand this. This idea that kids are coming from dysfunctional homes was abusive and it was wrong. It was very self-serving. But it didn't help any of us. Because if we're just going to say, okay, so we're all dysfunctional, so let's just blame the dysfunctional people, and everyone else can say, well, I'm obviously not dysfunctional. Apparently, until I have a kid off the derech, and that suddenly makes me dysfunctional, apparently. I found that to be abusive. I met an awful lot of wonderful people who had kids who went off and who struggled with this parsha. And what was more interesting, this notion of dysfunctional homes, I started doing my research. And what I noticed was that even in the so-called dysfunctional homes where these kids are coming from, lo and behold, in the majority of such homes, most kids didn't go off the derech. So if the notion was the family is dysfunctional, well, how come only the minority of a minority of those homes, the kids went off the derech? How's that possible? If dysfunction is the reason, we'd expect all the kids to go off. And of course that didn't happen. And in fact, what we began to understand is that enough with the beichsvars, enough with the knee-jerk reaction to what is a very, very confusing sugya. Enough with making grandiose statements, klaliistic statements about this is why kids are going off. This is the reason, as if someone actually knows. People ask me, I'm doing this work for 25 years, I cannot tell you authentically what causes any particular child to go off. If you show me any particular child, I can probably show you what caused that child to go off. But I'll show you the same symptoms with another child, the same challenges and nisyonis with another child who didn't go off. So how exactly is that the cause they went off? It's not a cause, Rabbi say, it's a description. We have to let go of these notions that somehow we're in charge and that we have these God-given powers of knowledge and understanding. And we certainly have to let go of the deep shame and pain that comes with the parsha, of feeling blamed, of feeling responsible, as feeling we've caused it. I've met people who had truly dysfunctional homes. I have worked with families where there's no question their family was highly dysfunctional. And yet I've seen kids in such homes somehow steig out of such families to become rabbonim, to become doctors and therapists and lawyers, to become women who are skonim and teachers, and somehow stood on the back of that dysfunction to become super special. So no, we have to get rid of all these ideas and notions that we think we know what causes it. While at the same time we have to get honest to try and understand what happened to my child. What's happening to my other children? And how can I best help them through their parsha? What can I do? Through Nefesh International, I co-chaired 4 conferences where we brought hundreds of mental health professionals, Rabbanim, Mechanchim, together for a few days to analyze, debate, discuss, and argue, and see if we can work out what's going on. What is actually behind all this? What's causing all this? Can we understand it? Because if we can, perhaps we can do some prevention. Perhaps we can help kids come back. So we ran a bunch of conferences, think tanks, even published the material. We came up with a list of 24 risk factors, loosely grouped in 3 areas. Individual risk factors like disabilities, problems kids had. We looked at family problems and issues. The families going through their own crises within the family context. And then we looked at external things that happen to kids, like abuse. That's neither internal nor is it out. It's not in the family. It's outside the family. And we put together a list of about 24 risk factors, and I went out there to research, and I talked to kids, hundreds and hundreds of kids, and I went through the list with them, asking them, did any of this ever happen to you? And if it happened to you, what was the impact? When were you treated? Did anyone ever talk to you about the problems? It was primarily, I did it for kindergarten through 8th grade, and we looked at these 24 risk factors, asking, did these things happen to you? And if they did, what age were you? What grade were you in when it happened? Let's say your parents got divorced. Well, what grade were you when they got divorced? You were in 1st grade. Okay. So then the question was asked, so what age were you when someone came and tried to help you? When you had effective intervention in a compassionate and therapeutic way to help you deal with your pain and struggles about that issue. If you were diagnosed with ADD, what grade were you in when you got that diagnosis? And what grade were you in when you felt you had effective help for that problem? And something tragic and astonishing emerged. We had 24 risk factors. 2 things emerged. This research went on for a year or 2. We put all the information together, and we now know the truth. Then it was hard to hear. But all the risk factors but one were clustered in 46% and down of the kids reported 23 out of the 24 risk factors were reported by 46% of the kids up to. And one risk factor was reported by 80% of the kids, which we all now know was sexual abuse. We certainly in the early days did not understand the impact of sexual abuse, and we didn't even understand what it was. To this day, we're still struggling to understand the experience of a sexually abused child. Because for most of us, we're clueless as to what exactly that experience is. People are still saying to kids, can't you just get over it? And the kids feel this. And no, they can't just get over it. We have a long way to go to understand the truth behind what hurts our pained kids, to really deeply grasp that pain. And we as parents, this is our first obligation and responsibility, to get into their shoes, to be in that place of pain with them, to really deeply resonate and let go of the notions of, can't you just get over it? Okay, so we know, we understand, it stopped happening. Can't we just move on? And yet somehow it comes out of us, probably because we're frightened. We're scared for ourselves. We're scared for our kids. We're scared for their lives, their shidduchim, our family name. Who knows what we're scared of? Oh, but we're scared. And so we become a little controlling. We want to fix it quickly. And we find it so hard just to be with it. Just to be with it. That word be, can you just if you close your eyes just for a moment and ask yourself, can I find a place in my heart where I can just be with them? Ima noichi b'tzara, can I be with you in that place of pain? Because that's the place where healing starts. It doesn't start till we can get into that place with them where I can be with you in your place of pain. Instead of trying to fix you, to shift you, to move you, but to be with you. I have to start there. These conferences I ran led to a journey. The journey was about the dual roles of prevention and recovery. To understand, what will it take? What will it take to prevent this? Can we? Is it even possible? One of the other things that emerged when we did the research was, think about it. We did research with kids, asking them to report their experiences between kindergarten and 8th grade. Basically 8 years of their lives. At this point they're about 13 years old. Children reported on average a 6.5-year gap between when the problems occurred to them and when they had effective intervention, healing, treatment, anything. Caring. Someone got involved effectively to help them. 6.5 years of a child who is 13 years old, who doesn't become so aware and thoughtful till they're about 4. 6.5 years is about 70% of their life. Imagine any of us going through a traumatic experience, feeling our life is being ripped from us, feeling we're made into utter, complete failures, and having to spend 70% of your life languishing in that pain and fear, that hurt and shame, without effective treatment for 70% of your life. We have to be with that. We have to start in a place where we can be with that feeling, where we can look at our children and feel that pain. And from that place, perhaps we can walk towards healing. But that's the place we have to go to. We have to let go of the rush to fix. And instead, we have to rush into a place of being with them. So they know I resonate to you and I don't blame you. I don't blame you for anything. What child ever deliberately signed up to go off the derech? Never happened. Every single one of these kids reacted to external circumstances they knew nothing about, did not comprehend or understand, could not protect themselves from. And never we have the cruelty to blame them. It's pasha cruel. Imagine if after 1 year we all came to Kol Nidri and we found in our stender a pink slip from the Rabbi Shalom. You're fired. Get out. And with that came a whole narrative of everything you committed to last year by Ne'ilah. All those commitments. And the Rabbi Shalom left a sheet on your stender letting you know, hello, this is what you said last year. These are your words. You made a commitment. Let me show you how badly you failed. Get out. This world of pain, we have to walk into that world with our kids. They're given to us by Rabbi Shalom. They are our gifts. So we must walk into that world with them together. We must start at a place where I feel, I resonate, I am with you, I don't blame you, I don't judge you. And that whatever I do with you, whatever response, reaction I have to you, is with kindness, is with love, is with sensitivity and understanding. Doesn't matter what you do. I don't care what it is you ever say. I used to suggest to the men, the little tefillin, the little mirror you have for tefillin, keep one in your pocket. If you have a kid in crisis, keep one in your pocket. Before you walk in the house, take a look. Have a look. Are you smiling? Are you warm? Do you look loving? The ladies have that, compact thing, right? You have that, with that mirror thing right in there. Take a look at it. What do you look like? Do you think your daughter, your son is really going to be happy to see you the way you look? Take a look in that mirror first and ask yourself, when my child sees this face, what will they see? Will they see my love, my caring, my acceptance? Or will they see my pain, my misery, my disappointment? And if you think they might see the latter, excuse yourself, disappear, go somewhere. Get busy. Go do the laundry. I don't care. Just do something. Go to the base of Medrash. But don't go home. Don't be in front of hurt, pain, troubled, traumatized children with that face. We daven to Rabbi Shalom and we connect to Rabbi Shalom as the Av Harachamon. How many of us would connect to Rabbi Shalom if he was pointing an angry finger at us and making us feel like 2 cents? To understand this sugya, it's taken me on a tremendous journey, and the journey is one of development. I'm constantly trying to deepen my awareness. Here, I must confess, it's a little intimidating because I have a feeling one or two of you might have heard something that I've said in the past. Is that right? But they say, "Ein beis hamedrash b'lo chidush," so I'm hoping I can say something you haven't heard. Who knows? One of you is going to say, no, Avi sent that to us 3 weeks ago. We got that clip. Where did he get it? I have no idea, but he got it somewhere. I think he has a video camera in my house somewhere. He has more clips than I have. He has clips I didn't even do. I don't know how he did it. And they're clips of me. He has clips where I look young. They're amazing.